Welcome to this first video in a series of videos covering Mastercam 2018. Today we're going to take a look at migrating your files to 2018 as well as general system enhancements. Future videos will cover machining and design functionality. All of the enhancements in 2018 are focused on performance, visualization, and usability, and you'll see this throughout the software. Before we get started on migration, let's take a quick look at our Prototek Newsletter. This is our primary form of communication to send out software update information, upcoming training schedule, upcoming event info, like our rollouts and dynamic workshops, new product information, as well as Mastercam tips and tricks and how-to videos. Things like command finder, model prep, file backup, etc. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, you can do so online or just give us a call or shoot us an email and we'll get you signed up. An important step in getting Mastercam 2018 up and running is migrating all of your critical Mastercam files to 2018. Things like machine definitions, control definitions, post-processors, tool libraries, operation defaults, and more. To start, we'll take a look at the install and update guide we've created. What is it and where do you get it? I'll run through the migration process and we'll have a brief discussion on post-processors. Let's take a closer look at Prototek's Mastercam 2018 Install and Update Guide PDF file. Where do you get it and why do you want it? Well, to get the guide, you can download it from our newsletter or rollout page or shoot us an email. As far as what the guide covers, you get step-by-step instructions with screenshots on how to install Mastercam. More importantly, you're going to get step-by-step instructions with screenshots on how to migrate all your critical files to 2018. And again, that includes machine defs, control defs, posts, tool libraries, and more. It also covers things like common configuration file edits, as well as creating a Mastercam user account on Mastercam.com. Before we migrate our files to 2018, let's take a quick look at the installed machine def files. We have 1 metric and 1 inch default machine definition. To launch the migration wizard, go to the File tab, click on Convert, and then launch the migration wizard. There's 2 ways to run the migration wizard, basic mode and advanced mode. We recommend using advanced mode. This allows you to decide which files will be updated from which version. Here, I've told it to update files from both the shared Mastercam 2017 folder as well as the My Mastercam 2017 folder. On this page, we tell it which file types we want to update. We're going to run through the migration wizard twice. The first time, we're only going to update our machine definitions, control definitions, and post-processors. Next, we'll tell it which file versions to update. Since we're migrating from 2017 to 2018, we only need to update 2017 files. Here's our review page to make sure we have everything set the way we want it. The last step is to hit the Finish button. Once it's completed checking all the files we had selected, it'll ask us if we want to view the log file. Hit Yes. Note how it checked 156 files, processed only 3 files, and skipped 153. Now when I check my mill machine defs, you'll note that I have a Prototek Mill 4X VMC. One thing you may have noticed is that Mastercam 2018 installs with one post per product. One mill, one wire, one lathe, and one router post. That's a big change from 2017. This was done in an effort to clean up these folders. Many people had hundreds of posts installed that they never used. But as we saw, when you run the migration utility, all your custom posts will be migrated. You can download individual posts from Mastercam.com via the Tech Exchange and shoot us an email. We have access to a large library of posts. Let us know what you're looking for. Just like previous versions, we've updated our post processor install utility to make it easy for you to install post processors. Simply drag and drop your zip file and hit the button to install the post files, and the utility makes sure your machine definition, your control definition, and your post files are placed in the correct folders on your local PC or on the network, depending on the location of your shared MCAM 2018 folder. Here we've installed a generic Haas 4-ax mill that's now available to use. Next, let's take a look at Mastercam 2018 General System Enhancements. Starting with the additional conversion of more dialog boxes to panels. This provides a more consistent interface as well as a great foundation for future enhancements. One significant change is that the Mastercam file extension is not going to change. It remains .mcam. If you open up a 2017 file, a large yellow ribbon will display across the top until you save the file. Also, in the community section, you have direct access to the knowledge base, Mastercam user forums, as well as the community app and Mastercam U. In 2018, we can set a default file open type other than Mastercam. We'll take a look at the integrated command finder for 2018, as well as look at the new work offset update dialog. In the system configuration on the files page, you can set the default file open type. For example, if you typically work with step files, you can set the default file open type to step files. The Mastercam command finder is launched from the Mastercam Home tab. Simply type in a keyword and it shows relevant functions. To launch a function, double-click on it. It's that easy. Let's take a look at it. From the Home tab, I can launch the command finder and type in the keyword rectangle. This shows me all relevant functions. Double-click on it and it launches the function. You can keep the command finder docked on your screen or close it down. Next up is the Update Plane dialog for 2018. In the past, if you made a work offset change, you would be notified how many toolpaths will be affected by that change. In 2018, you are given more info and more control over what happens. You get to decide if you want to update the plane and all of the toolpaths that use the plane, create a copy of the plane and update just this one operation, or if you want to update this operation without creating a new plane at all. It also shows you which toolpaths will be affected by your decision. More info, more control. Let's take a look at this functionality. First, I'll open up a file that has two setups. Each setup has multiple operations and uses a different work offset. As you can see, the top setup is using work offset number 0 to output a G54. I'm going to edit this toolpath and set my work offset to a 3. As soon as I hit enter, I get my update plane dialog. I can choose what to do. Based on my decision, it shows me which toolpaths will be affected. Once I've made my decision, you'll notice how all the toolpaths that were affected by that decision now have the updated work offset. We have 2 new graphics views for 2018, as well as quick access to the Group Manager. Mastercam has used groups for many years. One of the main uses for it these days is to simply work with merged geometry. For example, I'm going to open up my part file, and I'm going to merge in my vise. I can do this from the File menu, or by doing a Control plus drag and drop into the Mastercam graphics area. Now that I've merged my geometry, I have my vise and my part, but I have a problem. All my geometry is on one level. I want to segregate my vise geometry from my part geometry so I can easily toggle it off and back on when needed. My part contains a solid and many wireframe entities, and my vise, as you can see, contains many solid bodies. It would be difficult for me to manually select all the geometry correctly without wasting a lot of time. Luckily, whenever you merge geometry, it's auto-added to a new group. Allows me to select the group, change the level, and once it's on a new level, I can toggle it on and off whenever needed. The isometric reverse and trimetric are the 2 new views for 2018. Both are very handy. Isometric reverse is especially useful when working with dual spindle lathes or mill turn machines. You now have a default view that will look at the subspindle without having to create one. Next, we'll take a look at some new Analyze functionality, how to use dynamic plane inline when creating toolpaths and geometry, as well as some new level manager tools. Let's start with the Analyze functions, specifically Analyze distance along curve. This will provide a 3D distance on splines, lines, and arcs, as well as sweep angles on arcs. The big advantage to this is there's no longer a need to break or trim geometry that may already be in use in toolpaths or solid creation. Here I've selected an arc, and I can dynamically slide the green and red arrows. Note how the 3D distance and sweep angle values update. I can snap to endpoints or dynamically drag. For many years, we've been able to analyze an arc and edit its location and diameter. That hasn't changed. What has changed for 2018 is the ability to select multiple arcs, edit the diameter, and then propagate that diameter to all the selected arcs. While Create Plane Dynamic is not new to Mastercam, the ability to access dynamic plane creation from within geometry creation tools and toolpaths is new. Here I've opened up a file with 2 surfaces, one complex and one flat. I could use the Trim to Surfaces function, or I can use the Trim to Plane function, which is what I'll use. Once I've selected my geometry, I can define my plane in a variety of ways. What's new is the ability to select and create a dynamic plane from within the geometry function. I can also do the same thing from within multi-axis toolpaths. From my tool axis control page, I'll select plane, and once again, I can use dynamic plane creation to define my tool axis control plane. For 2018, you can drag and drop CSV files into the level manager, and you can have the level manager ignore blank geometry in the entity count. Let's take a look. If I do a screen statistics, it tells me that my screen has one trimmed surface and one untrimmed surface. Yet my level manager says there's 3 entities on level 1. If I tell Mastercam to ignore blanked entities, the entity count drops to 2. A good way to keep your files organized is to have well-defined level names. Simply drag and drop the CSV file into the level manager, and you're ready to go. One of the biggest enhancements for Mastercam 2018 is the unified selection of surfaces, solids, solid faces, and mesh entities, as well as some new solid face selection tools. When we say unified selection of surfaces and solids and meshes, what does that mean? That means there's no more bouncing in and out of solid selection mode. You can window select faces from solids and surfaces in one window, and you can use your color mask. Let's take a look at a file. This file has 3 parts that look identical. The part on the left is a solid model, the part in the middle is surface geometry, and the part on the right is an STL mesh. I'm going to create a toolpath, and we'll select some geometry. How we select geometry doesn't change, regardless if it's a mesh, a surface, or a solid. You'll see I'm able to select individual surfaces as well as individual solid faces without going into or out of a solid selection mode. Here my window will select or unselect geometry of all 3 types, as well as select only solids or solid faces that are inside of a window. Very powerful. This also works for geometry creation tools like Create Curve on All Edge. There's my window selection. Next, we'll use a color mask and grab the green surface. I can shift-click to select tangent entities on a solid model. On this part, I'll start by doing my shift-click to again select tangent faces, which works very well. Again, you can see it stops at sharp corners. I can double-click on a face, and it will grab everything within a well-defined feature. I can Control-Shift-Click on a face, and it will try to find similar features. In this case, a mirrored face. Control-click on a bore to grab matching bore sizes. Control-click on a fillet to grab all matching fillet sizes. In general, solid selection is more powerful than surface selection. You have all the tools of window and color masking, plus tools like double-click for a feature, shift-click for tangency, control-click for matching size, and matching radius. And again, this applies to both geometry and toolpaths. For 2018, we have some new setup sheet image tools we'll take a closer look at. And I also wanted to point out that via the all and only mask, you can now segregate sheet solids from solid bodies. In addition to bitmaps, 2018 supports JPEG, PNG, and GIF files. You can add images based on an external file, a level, or automatically based on view sheets. Let's take a look at this file. This file has multiple view sheets, specifically one for the top setup and one for the front setup. Next, I'll create a setup sheet and we'll add some custom images based on view sheets. Now, we can still create a custom image by modifying our graphics area and clicking on the little camera icon. But the new stuff is down below. Here I can select the view sheets I want to create a screen grab of. When I create my setup sheet, it'll automatically grab screenshots of each one of those view sheets. At the bottom of my setup sheet are my two view sheet screenshots, as well as the custom one that I created. Just to recap, these are the icons to access the new functionality. That's it for this video on Mastercam 2018 migration and systems enhancements. Stay tuned for future videos on design and toolpath functionality.